What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got several major things here to discuss here in today's video. Remember, we got 3 videos here every single day, 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for you guys. But President Biden has signed an executive order and another one coming here that is going to affect millions and millions of Americans. And for millions of Americans, it actually does directly impact money in your pocket in a couple different ways. And depending or not whether this affects you, and we're going to go over a couple different executive orders here, and I'll show you the information here directly on the screen. So if you haven't yet, if you're new to the channel, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos here. And also, thanks for liking and sharing these videos with your friends and family so that they can get this information, because this is very important information. And we're going to have a lot more of this type of stuff here coming forward. So first, we'll start with this. Okay, number one, the Biden administration extends the COVID-19 public health emergency declaration. So a lot of people were worried about this because, Biden said in an interview that the pandemic was over, and just kind of an off the cuff remark. He said like the pandemic was over or something along those lines, just kind of in an off the cuff remark. And well, I think we all kind of really know that the virus isn't gone. I mean, there's literally still thousands of people per day, every single day, testing positive. In fact, we know that this virus kind of waxes and wanes, as you can see here. We're actually on a little bit of a decline right now, which is a good thing, right? But even just yesterday, we had just about 30,000, a little bit under 30,000 new people test positive in a single day. And that does not include anybody who takes an at-home test. And who knows how many people have the at-home test, because we know it's millions and millions and millions of people. So we don't even really know the true amount of people who are really testing positive per day, but we know that it was at least 29,609 people just yesterday that tested positive. Over 1.06 million people died from the virus or from complications of the virus just in the US. 6.5 million people died worldwide. And over 96.7 million people in the US have tested positive. Those are only recorded cases. That doesn't include people that use the at-home test and didn't go to an official testing facility as well. And my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody who has had a loss of a friend or family, or is also dealing with complications from long COVID on this. I've seen a lot of comments from people that have lost friends or family members in the comment section. My thoughts and prayers are with you. And while they have extended this emergency declaration, this is very important for several different reasons. So, number one, this makes it eligible for states to extend extra SNAP benefits on the state level. And this literally means extra money in people's pockets for millions of people. In fact, it can mean $95 per month per family. And I'll show you the states right now that are still doing this. So you can see here right now, SNAP COVID emergency allotment guidance. This is literally extra stimulus aid. Once the pandemic emergency extension goes away, states will not be able to give this extra money away anymore. So that will be a big thing. Okay, so they've just extended this for 90 more days. Here are the states that are giving the extra money for October 2022. You can see right here on the screen. Okay, October 2022. These states are Alabama, California, Colorado, Delaware, DC, Washington, DC, District of Columbia, Guam, a U.S. territory, Hawaii, Illinois, Kansas, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New Hampshire, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Washington, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. So you can see here, there's still a lot of states that are giving this extra money on a monthly basis. Last month, there was a few more, and it's only midway through October, so more states can still join in as they're doing their paperwork and getting um, everything in here. Speaking of Hawaii, real quick, I want to show you some news here that's really going on in today's episode of You Can't Make This Stuff Up. Really big news here on that. Actually, I got two things for you here in Hawaii. If you haven't got your state tax rebate, aka Hawaii state stimulus check, a paper shortage may be to blame. A paper shortage. Yeah, first of all, you can't make this stuff up. Like, is this real life? Apparently, this is a paper shortage. Now, I'm sure these are paper checks, so it's not like actual just white paper. These are paper checks, but Hawaii says due to supply chain issues with paper stock, it will be another week until taxpayers receive their paper refunds, the State Department of Taxation said on Friday. So if you're waiting on your Hawaii checks, which are $300 per person, they're set to go out here the week of October 17th. They'll be distributed in batches of 2,000 checks, which looks like that could be a while here. They did send out direct deposits. Over 280,000 direct deposits were issued throughout the state on October 3rd. Let me know in the comment section if you got those. There's a $300 per person if you make under $100,000. Yeah, so if you've been $300 per person. So if you've been watching my channel, you know that there's about 33 different states sending these out. This is for the state of Hawaii. So if you're waiting on a paper check, yeah, apparently there's a paper shortage, at least for paper checks. Paper checks always take longer. Also, some major news from Hawaii, which I thought was pretty crazy. A earthquake hit the big island of Hawaii and the volcanoes there. And this has kind of sent some aftershocks here. You can see a magnitude of 5.0. And this is a little bit of a cause for concern. You can see here, earthquakes shake Hawaii's Mauna Loa volcano during unrest. Aftershocks are expected to impact the Hawaiian Islands for days to weeks. Let me know if you've ever been there. I've been there. This is kind of what the volcano looks like as you're kind of driving past it on the freeway, which is really just kind of like a two-lane freeway on the Big Island. It's not like Honolulu, if you've ever been on Oahu, which is a really kind of completely different vibe in Hawaii. You know, Honolulu, you got it's almost like a 16-lane freeway, 8 lanes going in and 8 lanes going out. On the Big Island, it's 2 lanes. It's really like beach country there. It's completely different, vibe over there. But you can see kind of the black lava over here. The Hawaiian Islands are basically all made of lava. Basically, they're all formed from the volcanoes. So, pretty decent earthquake there. And the aftershocks are the volcanoes in a state of unrest. Now, this volcano has been exploding since the 1980s in a not super violent type of explosion. And here's just like a quick picture of the volcano. It's always kind of erupting on the Big Island. It's been erupting for 40 years. And now this earthquake, a little bit of a cause for concern. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So let me know if you're in Hawaii. I know we have some viewers from Hawaii. Um, your thoughts on this? So number one, extending this emergency declaration of the pandemic, it makes it so millions of Americans and the states that extend the SNAP benefits can literally put extra money in their pockets. Number two is it makes it so there's millions of people right now that are getting extra Medicaid benefits that are going to lose it when the emergency declaration falls off. So when eventually, which is going to be sometime in the near future, now this is going to extend it into 2023 because it's going to extend it for 90 days. But at some point, this is going to stop. We know that they're not going to be able to extend the pandemic forever. How long that will be, you can let me know your thoughts on this, but it's also going to mean that there's going to be millions of people that lose Medicaid coverage because they're people that are actually not eligible for Medicaid. And because of this pandemic emergency health declaration, um, one thing about this emergency declaration is that the states are getting extra money for that as well. And when people apply to it, the states have to accept them. But when this ends, the states are going to go through and see who's not actually eligible. And when that happens, the states are going to have to kick off the people who are not eligible, which means millions of people are going to lose their Medicaid coverage as well, which is going to be millions of people. So that is going to happen as well as soon as the emergency pandemic coverage ends. So, and honestly, with the way that the CDC basically said that they're going to start going to not daily counts of the virus, but to weekly counts, and President Biden kind of made that off the cuff response that says the pandemic is over, and then he kind of backtracked and said, well, I just kind of meant that people don't have to, whatever his response was. I don't remember the exact words, but he basically said that the virus is kind of different. People's way of lives are different, that they're kind of, we're dealing with it different. Basically said something like that. Um, so now, I mean, it is kind of different. I mean, you're not seeing, I mean, surely it's different than, it was a year or two ago where there was mask mandatory. I mean, you don't have to wear a mask on a plane anymore. I mean, there was a time when, at least where I live, to walk in a grocery store, every single person wore a mask. Now you go in a grocery store and you maybe see one or two. I mean, there was a time when masks were mandatory where I live. Maybe, I mean, of course, every single state's different. It really just depends on where you live. But there was a time where masks were mandatory. Now, not so much. I mean, sure, maybe you see some people wearing them, but not so much. So yeah, you can let me know your thoughts here on this. The other thing here is President Biden to sign executive order aimed at lowering prescription drug costs. Here is the details on this. So this is from yesterday. President Biden will sign an executive order on Friday directing administration officials to consider further actions to lower prescription drug costs, the White House announced. With less than a month before the midterms, Biden is focusing on healthcare costs to help position Democratic candidates. Sometimes the wording of this stuff is, I don't know. Biden's order would complement the Inflation Reduction Act, and specifically the provision allowing the federal government to negotiate some prescription drug pricing, which I think most of us, if not almost all of us, is a good thing think is a good thing. Lower prescription drug costs is a good thing. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, I don't know if this matters, but lower prescription drug costs is a good thing. However, polls show that while the public is familiar with the law, they are unaware of its key health provisions. Many of the law's goals have strong public support, including limiting out of pocket prescription drug costs for many people on Medicare and capping monthly out of pocket insulin costs for Medicare recipients. The executive order directs the Department of Health and Human Services to explore additional actions it can take to lower prescription drug costs even more. Health and Human Services will have 90 days to submit a report on how it will use new models of healthcare payments and delivery to lower drug costs and promote access to innovation drug therapies for beneficiaries enrolled in Medicare and Medicaid programs. Another thing here is that really lowering the cost of prescription drugs, prescriptions, will ultimately lead to lower healthcare costs and premium costs. So we look at really a large reason that the Medicare Part B premium this year is going down by $5 and some change is because of the prescription reduction of that Alduhelm reduction that they got reduced, and that whole controversy there, right? An Alzheimer's prescription, okay? The high cost of prescription drugs, okay? So the more they can lower the cost of prescription drugs, the lower that premiums will be. Whether you pay for Medicare Part B, whether you pay for private healthcare insurance, whether you have a job and you're paying for healthcare out of your paychecks, one way or another, you're probably paying for healthcare, whether it's through Medicare or your job or one way or another. If you're paying a monthly premium for healthcare, even if you don't take any prescription drugs, you kind of are, because when you pay that monthly premium, built into that cost is the high cost of prescription drugs. It's probably 50% of it. Okay. So as they can lower the cost of prescription drugs, the premiums and the cost might not really lower. I mean, we've seen Medicare Part B get lowered this year for like the first time in really 10 years, but really it's such an anomaly to see that happen, especially with inflation being the highest it's is in 41 years. To see that go down on the highest inflation year in 41 years was absolutely just amazing. It was just, I mean, because honestly, if Medicare Part B went up $21 last year and inflation is the highest it is in 40 years, Medicare Part B could have went up $30 this year. So for it to go down $5 this year was absolutely just a great thing. I know I get some comments from people saying, Jimmy, it only went down $5. I mean, yeah, but you got to think about how bad inflation is this year and how bad it could have went up. I mean, so we're going to get this large Social Security raise, and you know that most of the time Medicare Part B takes a large chunk out of that. This year, it's going to go down. So the more they can combat prescription drug pricing, the less that Medicare Part B raises it will take out of Social Security raises, and also for private healthcare insurance, and taken out of people's paychecks. And healthcare is just insanely expensive, insanely expensive. Now, this doesn't mean that there's going to be a reduction in Medicare Part B every single year, but the more they can lower prescription drugs, the less it will go up every year, because healthcare has just been going up and up and up insanely every single year. So this will kind of curb it from going up more than it should. Lower prescription drugs is a good thing because they've just been getting insanely expensive. The cost of insulin being hundreds of dollars per month, in some cases $700-800 a month, when it costs like $5 to $10 to make, is just absurd. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments, and I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. Make sure to click the subscribe button down below if you haven't yet, and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on new videos, and I will keep you up to date. You can click here to see my newest video on a Social Security announcement, which just came out. Or you can click here to see my newest video next. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.